All right. So welcome, Kevin and Joy. It's great to have you. And I know that you're tuning in from Melbourne. Is it as cold there as it is here today?
I said the sun's out, but it was about 3 degrees this morning, Joy.
Yeah. Look, we had the same. We had the same.
Well, of course, you're in Canberra. Canberra is very cold, isn't it?
Well, I'm actually just outside of Canberra in a place called Carwoola, and I'm on a 280-acre farm with baby sheep being born, which would be quite a shock for them. But we were down to -1 the other day. So
See, the sun's out now, so it's quite nice.
Yep. Excellent. Good. All right. So now today's topic, and thank you for joining me, is self-care, all things self-care and meditation. And both of you are entrepreneurs. I've been following your stories for a little while now, and I felt like we had some things in common, and we really want to help people. And I love that Joy's now doing some meditations that people can share, and I shared with you that I've done one of those. So if you can tell me a bit about yourselves and what your journey is up to now.
Go, Joy.
Oh, okay. I'll start. Thanks for having us, Donna. This is fantastic. Well, I have a background in corporate, so I worked for over 30 years in corporate as an executive assistant at the start, and then I moved into governance roles. So I was like an advisor to boards, and I worked with boards over that period of time. And I was introduced to meditation probably about 25 years ago, and when my daughter was going through a difficult time, and I thought and a colleague advised that it might be helpful for her to experience meditation, but I thought it was all about doped up hippies sitting cross-legged and that sort of thing. So I was a bit concerned about, taking my daughter to something. So I went along, and I was introduced to meditation then, and I continued to work in corporate. And I knew when I went into this meditation center that this was what I'd been looking for all my life. So it was like a gift to me that my daughter was actually going through this difficult time, because I found this. So what I did from there is I continued, I started learning all about meditation. I went to India and studied it and tried all different types of meditation. But what I did in my corporate world was I actually introduced meditation into the workplace over that period of time. And in a large corporate organisation in Melbourne, I introduced a quiet room, which I would do some meditations, or we had lovely meditation music going, introduced that. And in every workplace that I worked, I introduced a meditation program or a mindful program. So, and I continued to work in corporate with senior management teams and introduced meditation to senior management teams. Sometimes they weren't very open to that, but after working in that industry for a long, long time, I always wanted, and during that time we did, Kev and I did things like ran meditation classes, beginners classes, and I wrote some programs, things like that over the years. And I did some coaching. I had a coaching practice for a while after I left corporate, and hypnotherapy practice, and mentored and coached on meditation and a whole lot of other things. And I really wanted to use meditation to help and support other people, but I really didn't know how to do that. And so this actually, and I'm sure we'll get onto this, but just this COVID-19 has really given me the opportunity to do that. So I'm no longer in corporate. I'm doing a lot of work in personal development and other things, and I do some coaching and mentoring as well. But yeah, that's just a little bit about me.
Isn't that interesting? Because I also think that this COVID time has been a great opportunity for people to get a little still and be doing things that they really want to do. So thank you. And to take it into corporate would be just awesome.
Yep.
Kevin.
Absolutely. Okay, a little bit about me then. How I started with meditation, I guess I go back the late sort of 80s. I was going through a few issues back then. I lost my daughter Holly to SIDS. She was 5 months old, and I was looking for something after that. I was just searching, and my marriage sort of it wasn't great anyway, and then it just sort of fell apart. but we still had 2 great kids out of that. Well, 3 counting Holly for sure. So, and I was just searching for something, and I think I dabbled in meditation a little bit, but I wasn't sure what I was doing. Got a bit lost. I spent 6 months living in Ireland with my brother. That was a bit of a wild time. And he just separated from his wife as well at the time. So we were over there sort of I've got family over there and just lovely people, and we stayed with them, and they love drinking, and we hit the pubs quite a bit. So it was a good time. But I came back and I thought being away would help, but it didn't really help. I was still sort of lost. I was a bit depressed, I think. Maybe not clinically, but certainly I wasn't great. And I guess meditation just, I started doing a couple of classes one day up at a place called Wood End, where my background's in policing for 20 years down here in Melbourne. And I left the police force and tried numerous other little things, and then I ended up managing a Salvation Army shop in Wood End, of all places, and which is up near Bendigo. And I went to a meditation event up there once, and actually I remember buying a $70 cushion to sit on in this meditation, which we still had until recently, that cushion. I really miss that cushion. But I did this meditation there, and it was more sort of being in the lotus position and having your hands a certain way. You had to sort of sit a certain way. It was a bit sort of what's that word?
Stringent.
Restrictive. Yeah, and I didn't sort of like that too much, so I kept trying different things. And then when I met Joy, I knew Joy was in the meditation, and I went to a few of the classes that she was going to. Just loved them. It was fantastic, with a great group of people down in Fitzroy. And since then, we've both been to India for a week-long retreat over there with this particular group of people, which was amazing. And ever since then, I can't live without it. I do it sort of every day, and it's just part of my life now. So, yeah, that's my little...
I actually can't sleep without meditation, because my brain is so active all the time that unless I meditate, I just cannot get to sleep. So I totally resonate with what you're saying. And so as I said before, I had been following a bit of your stories, and there was a lot of, I resonated with a lot of the stuff. So that's why I was excited to have you on. And I just want to tell you a funny story about, I was in a relationship, and it was back in either 2015, 2016. And my partner at the time enrolled in your procrastination course. But procrastinated so much in the course that he didn't finish the course.
Oh, okay. Yes. I think I remember that actually.
Because he was a big procrastinator, and I think you were getting him to do live videos or something. And so that was quite funny. So that was back in 2015, 16. So that's how long I've kind of been following you guys and being jealous of your park runs and things like that. So...
Oh, wow. That's an interesting,
Yeah, it's so funny.
I do remember
so
that.
I wanted to ask you both, and what advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
Want to go first?
Sure. That's a great question. I think we've been asked this question before in various, with groups that we've been involved in. I think for me, my advice would be just believe in yourself, and believe in your own abilities. And I have to keep saying that to myself, and I think that's really important. And that's what I'd say to anyone that's wanting to start something new. Just believe in you, and really trust your gut, trust your intuition. Because if your intuition is telling you to go a certain way and you go the other way, and I know from experience that the other way was not the right way to go. So I would say to my 20-year-old self, believe in yourself and trust your gut. Ask yourself, how does that feel? And just go with it. I think that's my...
Yeah. And so a question on top of that would be, because I have thought about that, trusting, because my intuition is very, very strong. And but in our 20s, how do we know what this intuition thing is? Do you think you really understood what it was in your 20s?
No, absolutely not. In my 20s, I think what I did, probably due to my childhood, but I was being the person that other people wanted me to be. So, with work, I'm the eldest child, so I was always being the eldest child. I was the good one. I was the one that was the most organised and the one they could rely on. And even when I worked, I was the one that was the loyal one and this one. And I followed that sort of path. And even in relationships, I was being the person that the other person or whoever it was wanted me to be. And I didn't actually believe if somebody saw in me the real me that I wanted to be. I didn't actually believe it. I thought that I have to be what others expect me to be. So, I certainly didn't understand intuition.
Yeah, okay. And what about you, Kevin?
Yeah, look, I'd probably, if I saw the 20-year-old Kev sitting there, I'd say, look, find yourself a mentor or someone that you can trust who can guide you. Because I had no guidance when I was 20. I was just, I wasn't a bad person at all. I wasn't, getting drunk and going to parties and stuff all the time. But that's not a bad thing, but when you're 20, but I was just lost. I just didn't know what I wanted to do. I'd sort of go along with my mates. I played football and cricket and all those things until I was sort of, I guess, mid-20s, and that was a good thing to be. And I got married at 23, and but I was just lost, just totally sort of lost, and had no real. I just thought, hey, this is just normal. You go off, you get married and have kids. That's your sort of life. And then, I probably had a lot of creative ideas, but I just kept them suppressed because there was, the person I was married to at the time was an interesting person, to say the least. And it wasn't a fantastic marriage. But, I just say to myself, look, go off and just find yourself someone who you trust, and someone who can guide you, because I didn't look for help at all. I just went along. I was just a yes man when I was that sort of age. I just, whatever anybody said, yep, oh yeah, okay, yep, I'll do that. Yep, I'll do that. Apart from drugs and stuff, which luckily for me, I wasn't that sort of person to ever do drugs or that kind of thing. And but basically, I'd just say, just find yourself or find yourself some direction, find a purpose, direction, because at that age, I didn't have one. And it took many years to actually finally sort of work out that's what you need to do, take responsibility and have a purpose.
Yeah, fantastic. All right. And where do you see yourselves in 12 to 24 months?
Well, I guess for me, I'd certainly, we would like to be living somewhere where it's warm. That'd be good, which we will be. But
I'd like. You both just moved from Queensland?
Yeah, just moved from Queensland.
Yeah. It was warmer than Melbourne.
Yes,
just a little bit.
It was for family reasons that we're
right.
We're meant to be here right now, but in 12 months' time, we won't be meant to be here.
No. Well, look, I'd like I'd like to have the meditation business really sort of moving along, and I'm not reading your notes, Joy. Sorry. But I would like to have that at a stage, because I know it's Joy's first love is the whole meditation thing, and I'd like to see her be successful with that. And she's already written like 3 or 4 courses that we'll start working on, and I'd love to see that at a level where it's bringing us a nice income. We're seeing changes in people. We're helping people and improve their lives and find that peace. And so that's what I'd like to be, certainly in 12 to 24 months with that, and doing workshops and all that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And also I like affiliate marketing, which is a love of mine, I guess. And I really enjoy doing that. I've just done this course, and it's just opened my eyes to so many things as far as social media goes. I love the podcast. I'd love that to be, a really successful podcast with lots of subscribers and all that kind of thing, and people listening and actually learning from it.
Yeah.
And so you're helping people, and just being a success in the online field, because I've been trying that for a long time and haven't been overly successful to a stage where I can just say, look, we can take a month off and just do nothing and go for a trip somewhere, even though we've done that in the past. But I just want to get to that level where we have a nice stream of income coming in from a few things, and we have that little bit. We have freedom now, but I'd just like to see a little bit more of freedom as far as financially goes, because financially we're okay, but we can do a lot better than what we are at the moment. So it's I'd like to see that improve. And as they say, the more you help people, the more you help yourself, basically. So yeah, that's
absolutely
in a nutshell.
Yeah.
What about you, Joy?
Well, I see myself sharing my wisdom and my knowledge with a lot more people. I see myself having recording meditations and having a quite a successful YouTube channel and programs. Kev has mentioned that but I have got a number of programs that I've already written. We've relaunched one of our programs during the COVID, but there are so many other things that I want to share with people and have some programs. I've got lots of ideas for. I think people are looking for people are looking for quick fixes in this day and age. They don't want to spend the time and people are always looking for something that's going to, help them really quickly. And meditation is not something that happens quickly. You don't just do one meditation and, your life has just changed completely. But I think there's an opportunity there. I've got a program that I really want to do that I'm really focused on doing is a 10 minutes a day for 10 days to 10x your joy, just to get people started. And what I want to see is more people meditating. I want it to just become like people brushing their teeth, that meditation is just part of their morning ritual or their daily ritual, wherever they fit that in. So I want to get closer to that. And I'd like to, be closer to that in 12 to 18 months doing that. I enjoy doing that. I do believe in myself. I do believe that, I can help and support people, and I've taken on board that I can, and I have done it. And yeah, that's what I want to be doing, and have the freedom just to do that and choose when I do that. In terms of the online space, I'm really enjoying the online space. I thought it was all about face-to-face, but it's definitely not about face-to-face.
No. And isn't it interesting what you said? How people think, well, I meditated last night, Joy, and it's just not working for me. My life hasn't changed, and that perception that you've got to sit in a particular way and you've got to have the right pillow and the right candles and you've got to go and and people don't understand that meditation is this simplistic thing of being still and calming the mind, or being able to sleep well, or being able to feel joy even though you're going through turmoil. And for me, just a little side note, so I have 4 children, and you can imagine the drama that brings with it, right? And I actually have a son who has had ice addiction for, a lot of years. And for me, the meditation, I remember going into a therapist's office in November 2017, not knowing how to cope, not knowing, I just couldn't see the forest for the trees because I feared my son dying, so much so. And then I had the whole, well, he's in jail, so he's not going to die. And I actually got some, I'm not sure if you've heard about EMDR therapy.
Yep.
And between the EMDR therapy and the meditation, I kept my sanity. That's the bottom line. And if people just understood how you can still go through things that are, drama or adversity or trauma, and meditation can just allow you to be okay on a day-to-day basis while you go through whatever it is you're going through. So, that was, really huge for me. So I'm an absolute meditation advocate. And if you're ever in Canberra way and you want to run a retreat out at my farm, I have plenty of women that will come out and learn how to meditate. So that's on the table for you.
Right, thank you. Yes, but that's true. Meditate doesn't change the outside world. It doesn't change what's going on in your life. What it does is it changes the inside world so that you're able to respond and to react what's going on in the outside world. That's what's so powerful about it. It's not about it just changes you within and the ability to be able to react and respond in a peaceful way. And no matter what is going on for you, it doesn't matter what is happening in your life, you can still get in touch with that inner peace and joy that you have there. It doesn't take away your happiness, anything that's going on, it still sits there. It's really powerful, but it is a practice.
Because one of the things I remember a long time ago, I grappled with, well, how can I learn meditation and be happy and joyful when this is going on for my son? And it was like, well, no, I have to be sad. I have to be unhappy. And meditation made me understand that wasn't the case. And just to be able, and I have a little van down the coast, and when I sit on the ocean by the sea and meditate, they are my best meditations with just the waves coming in. And I do explain to people too, which I'm sure you have to remind people a lot, is find your own way of meditation. Like, it's not that just because Donna does it like this, or Kevin does it like this, or Joy does it like this, doesn't mean to say that's your way. And that's, I think, really hard for people to get their head around at times. So
that's true, Donna. Absolutely true. And that's what we teach, and what I've always taught is that meditation is different for everybody. It is. It's like anything. You can find the right exercise that you enjoy doing at the gym. You've got to go through all of the different ones to find the one that you enjoy. And this exactly the same with meditation. And meditation is not about just being still. You can walk and you can move and meditate. Surfers, for example, they are the most chilled people, and meditation for them, I've had surfers when I was coaching a surfer, and he said his meditation was waiting for that wave, just lying on the board on the water in that stillness, waiting for that wave to come. And when you think about it, what a beautiful way to meditate, just there, just waiting for that to come. And
unfortunately, Joy, I would be sitting there fearing the sharks. But anyway, and that's a perfect example of each to our own. So Kev, let me just ask you, so, COVID's been happening, lots of things have been happening in the world, and, we had horrific bushfires, and then we've had COVID. How has this massive change in how we do life affected you? And it can be in negative, positive ways, but how has it impacted your life?
I would say very little with me. In fact, I've thinking about like going back to the start of COVID, for example, when it first went about March there, and it's probably changed our lives, but for the better. I think when I think back then, and certainly doing this course, this Russell Brunson course, that's really sort of changed my thinking as well. But, when the lockdown came in and everyone was saying, oh, we're going to be stuck at home and blah, 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 I thought, yippee, it's a time to really knuckle down, double down, work out what you want in life. And really, the only thing that changed for me was my gym closed, which I really hate. But and it opens, I think, next Monday. Actually, Monday week, I think it is. So it's still a while to go with that. But apart from that, nothing in my life changed. Because I work from home anyway. Yeah. And so I wasn't missing a lot. I mean, you miss the odd, going to the restaurant for a meal occasionally. But apart from that, look, I just found it there was some sort of movement around the world, and it just a certain energy. And if you're locked into the positive stuff, I think it really helped. There's lots of negative stuff there, and if you're watching the news all the time, and then you'll lock into that vibration. But I sort of chose, and I know Joy did as well, just to steer clear of most of that. And it's hard sometimes because it's just at one stage it was just full on 24 hours. The Prime Minister doing his talks every day and where we're at and what's happening. But once you sort of just accept that as being, part of life, and you just say, right, this is a chance just to knuckle down. What do I really want? Where am I going? What are we doing? And it just really helped us, or certainly helped me, just to re-establish my goals, what I want to do during this time. You can binge on Netflix and you can do this and just, whinge and complain, or you can actually decide to come out of this whole thing feeling really positive and so far ahead of other people who have just decided to just whinge about it and find, complaints and be negative about it. And you can come out of it, which we are doing, just really inspired and raring to go. So for me, it changed me for the positive.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't watch news. You do see it on your news feed in Facebook, and I'm on social media a lot. But like you, I think it was just such a great time, and there were so many positive environmental changes. And you did see a lot of complaining, but I certainly don't engage in that on social media anyway. So what about you, Joy? What would be some significant things that you went, this was an opportunity that I wouldn't have had we not been locked down?
Yeah, what happened for me, what it's taught me, the only thing that in terms of the negative for me was that I wasn't able to see one of my children for a long period of time. That was difficult for a lot of people. However, I felt in some ways, as even though we were disconnected from the outside world, I felt actually more connected, because I had that sense, that feeling that we were all in this together and everyone was experiencing the same thing, and I felt like there was a connection there. And it was during this period that one day, I think it was one morning, I got up and I thought, right, because I meditate every morning, I'm going to share my meditation live on Facebook. And I just got up, and this is getting way out of my comfort zone, actually doing something like this. But I just felt the urge to do it, and I did it. And it was from that point that we decided that we're going to do live meditations every day while this is going on. And that's what we've been doing ever since the start. And we're actually continuing on with those every morning at 7. We were doing it twice a day, but now as we're coming out of isolation, we couldn't really commit to every evening as well. So we do it every morning at 7 o'clock, and I share share my meditations, and it's been really positive in terms of myself, and I feel the connection with others. It's allowed me to really, really hone into what I want to be and what I want to do, and all those little dreams and things that I had within me that I wanted to do have now bubbled to the surface, and it's allowed me to do that. And that's what I've done. And I actually did a podcast a couple of days ago. I think I may not be up yet, but on coming out of isolation and what you're going to, how you're going to come out of it, and what habits you want to bring with you when you come out, because we all would have created new habits. So I've had to, Kev's had to, with gyms and things closing, because I was going to the gym as well. So I've created a new habit of doing online yoga. And, I really thought about, well, what habits do you want to take forward with you when we all go back out into the world? Because things have changed. It's a whole new world, and there's an opportunity to, to make those changes, keep those changes that have been positive for you, and recognize what they are and what are the things you want to leave behind. Maybe, there were some habits that created that you don't want to take with you, but really focus on those ones that you've enjoyed. And, there could be habits like people spending more time with their family that they didn't have the opportunity to do before, because it was forced on them to do that. Yeah. I mean, for some people it may have been difficult, difficult, but for some people, it may have been what they'd been wanting. And I know I heard from lots of people during this time, they'd say things like, I got to do the thing that I always said, that when I find the time, I will do that, or I'll start that course, or I'll do these things. And it was an opportunity. So it's about, okay, let's just really acknowledge what it was that we did that was really positive and loved doing, and keep doing that, really keep that in front of you and write it down and put it somewhere to remember that, wow, during this time, this was the new habit that I created, excuse me, and that's what I want to keep doing. And what do I want to let go of? So I think it's an important time to reflect on the time you've had, rather than just we've gone into isolation, now we're going out. I think it's really important to sit down and reflect on what the gifts were, and what the things are you don't want to take forward.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because one of my questions was about on reflection, and I know for my parents were really tough in the beginning. We struggled to get them to understand, because both of my parents are in their 70s and they both have emphysema. And to get them to stay at home. And then my younger brother, who has an intellectual disability, we had to stop him from coming to mum and dad's because he was just hanging out with people, and they just didn't kind of understand the risk. So my older brother and I did an intervention with them and had to say, hey, look, we really care about you and we don't want you to be at risk. And so for them, they learnt how to do online shopping, which was amazing, because they're now doing, shopping, Woolworths shopping online, and it gets delivered to the front veranda. And while they love their outings, they understood that this was a temporary thing. But yeah, like, you guys, things for me hadn't really changed. I FaceTime my mum and dad more because I couldn't visit them, and that was difficult. But I'm in lockdown with a daughter and a grandson, which has been wonderful. But recording podcasts is very difficult unless he's having a nap. So, so what about you, Kev? On reflection, what would you say is maybe one or two things that you absolutely are going to take into even when you come out of lockdown?
Yep, good question. I think I've started a ritual in the mornings of getting up at 4:30, which is kind of weird. You'd think being a colder climate, you'd stay in bed a bit longer. But I've just started getting up really early because I'm just, and I think because I took on this course during this COVID-19 period, and that really motivated me. And it's just, I think I'm a bit of a changed person in some ways. But certainly I want to take that early morning, sort of, get up and start doing things nice and early, which I was always fairly early anyway. I wasn't sort of a late riser, but 4:30, 4:30, 5:30 is pretty early for me. So I've started doing that and really enjoy that. I've got this new exercise regime in the morning because there's no gym.
Yeah.
And I'll keep that. I'll keep doing that as well. I sort of do a lot of sit-ups and a lot of push-ups each morning, and that sort of keeps me going, gets me going for the day. So my morning routine has changed a little bit, but I'll definitely keep it because it's working for me. So I'll keep that. I think what else I'll take into the future would be, I think my mindset, just to see, I mean, at the moment, the world's in a bit of chaos, I guess, and it's just nice to see that you're able to sit back and just think clearly and have clarity. Where you see a lot of people like these protesters and whatever, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but a lot of people, they're sort of running with the herd. They just jump on an issue and just run with it, because I don't think they really know who they are deep down. That's probably the problem there. And
that sheep mentality of I'm following, but I'm not sure why I'm following.
Yeah, and look, I'm sure there are a lot of people like that. They just, this sounds good, and I'll go out and do this. And I think it's because they don't really know who they are. And so it's just nice to have that clarity yourself, to know where you are, where you're going, And I've sort of learnt that through all this chaos in the world. I think, well, you know, I'm not someone that's just going to run out and do silly things. And not that I'm saying they're silly. That's not what I'm trying to convey here. But I just think they're caught up in the news. They watch the media, and the media has this effect on them. And they just believe everything that the news service says. And I think that really has some sort of effect on them. And so I think for me, I feel really clear in the head. I've got this clarity, and I want to take that forward as well. So they're probably the two things that are really, that come to mind for me anyway, that I just want to keep going with that. And I feel so confident in the future.
Yeah.
And just really optimistic, you know, totally optimistic about the future. I think this is the time that the earth needed to have. Whether you think this COVID's a scam or it's the real thing or whatever, it doesn't matter. But I think the world needed that little break, that 2 or 3 months just to reset, work things out, and the people who can look at that and just take it on board and really run with it and just see the opportunities are going to have success down the track, and they're going to thrive. Whereas a lot of people who are very negative will go the other way. And
it's actually really interesting. I had a message this morning and it said, oh, you know, what do you think of the pandemic? And I'm like, what do you mean? And they then come back to me and were insinuating that this was all a big plan and whatever. And I actually went back and said, well, we each can believe what we want to believe. I said, for me, first and foremost, I was going to make sure my parents were okay. I'm strong enough and have an amazing immune system, so I'm not worried about me, but I was concerned about the, you know, health and safety of my family. So that's all I care about. And so that leads me to my next question. And Joy, I'll get you to give me some input on this. When it comes to, so there was a couple of things specifically about self-care. So self-care and mental health have been a really big thing. Now, I also understand that obviously if you like the person you're in lockdown with, it's all good. But there's plenty of families that have obviously been locked down and may not particularly like each other, or it may be a very difficult situation. And in fact, at one point, they had done some statistics in the first 2 weeks of lockdown. Domestic violence support had been Googled 75% more than what it had prior to 2 weeks of lockdown. What do you think is really important about self-care and mindset?
Ola, I think self-care and mindset is the most important thing that you can do for yourself. Self-care and self-love. If you don't, and I think Kev talked about it a moment ago, people not knowing really who they are. And if you, and I've seen this in family members myself that I've tried to help, is that people don't love themselves, so they allow themselves to be treated in ways that aren't deserving or disrespectful. And self-care, it takes courage. It does take courage to just look after yourself. It's interesting you say that. I've just put up on my podcast today a self-love meditation.
Right.
So yeah, it just runs
timing.
for 10 minutes. Yeah, so it is timely. And actually the act of meditation for me is an act of self-love. That's what self-love is to me, doing something for yourself. But it's so important. It's the most important thing, because if you don't have that love within yourself, or you don't care for yourself, you can't care for others in the right way. There are so many people out there that are carers themselves, and carers in the way that they in their jobs, and carers at home, and nurturers and carers themselves. But often they have a lot of health issues, and that all comes down to the fact that they're not caring for themselves as well. And I would love, that's what I think is so powerful about meditation and understanding what the benefits are of meditation. I would love for everyone, as I said before, to meditate, because that would help with that self-love and that self-care. And it would, I think some people feel like they need permission to to take that time for self-care and self-love. And it can be as simple as, just stepping away for 5 minutes, sitting, having your cup of tea or cup of coffee out in the corner for 5 minutes. That could be, and it's acknowledging that this is for yourself. Oh, this is my self-love and self-care. And it's not always about going away for a long period of time. It's not about going off and to spas and things like that. That's all kind of external things. People think that is all. It is, and it is self-care. It's doing something for yourself, but you've got to really go within. And look, it's so important. And if you don't do that, if you don't have that love, that self-love, I think that's why people find themselves in these situations where they.
And it doesn't cost anything, does it? Other than a bit of time. It doesn't cost money, self-care.
Yeah.
So Kev, and I know there's some questions that I haven't written down, but they're coming up for me. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
So Kev, if you could speak to young men of today, what would you tell them about self-care and self-love? Because, my 51-year-old self has seen plenty of young men who I don't think that's ever talked about. I still from afar am trying to teach my son, if he loved himself, he wouldn't be self-destructing. And, and I struggled for a long time as a mum because he was raised with love. He was raised with, a good family unit around him. He was raised with all those things. So what would you tell young men about self-care and self-love?
Yep, there's probably three things that I would talk to them about. The first one, which I think is super important, is you have to take responsibility for your life. That's the first thing. If you're not taking responsibility, you're blaming others, then you're a victim, and you're just going to carry on that way. And you've really got to take responsibility for your life. The second thing, I would encourage them in whatever field they want to get into or whatever endeavour they want, because most young kids these days, whether it's boys or girls, don't get encouragement. And encouragement is just such an easy thing to do. You just encourage someone, yep, you're doing really well, blah, blah, blah. And people don't get that. They just don't get that encouragement these days, unfortunately. And the third thing would be, you've got to have a purpose. You've got to find out what is your purpose in life. Yeah. And if you find your purpose, then you find yourself. Then once you find yourself, you can start loving yourself. But without a purpose, if you're just going around in circles, like I was when I was 20 years old, I had no purpose. I didn't know who I was, what I was doing. And which is why I mentioned earlier, I would have loved to have found a mentor or somebody that, could have taken me under their wing. And but that didn't happen. That's fine. That's all part of my story. But those three things definitely, take responsibility for your life. It's your life. No one else can do it for you. Encourage them in whatever they want to do, and don't try and sort of, tell them something's, oh, no, don't do that. Do this. Do what you love. Encourage them to do what they love.
Yeah.
And then just find that purpose. It's really important to have a purpose, a mission, a meaning, and a sort of, a way, just like on the Camino. The Camino, the way, you just find this path and just go on it and just find your meaning.
You certainly had purpose each day on the Camino, didn't you?
And they would certainly find their meaning and their responsibility on the Camino. If they did that, that's for sure.
Yes. So let me ask you, for up and coming entrepreneurs, what advice would you give them? I mean, especially now, with the internet, and there is so much opportunity. What would you say to someone who, whether they were someone who's been in the corporate world for 40 years or whether they are in their 20s or 30s, but they go, like, I really have a dream. What would you say to them?
Well, I'll quickly answer this, then I'll put Joy on. But I'd do the same thing. I would say, look, okay, take responsibility. You've got this dream. It's your responsibility. I'd encourage them, go for it. If that's your dream, I'm right behind you all the way. And then find what's your meaning in life? Why are you here? Why are you doing this? What's your why? Because that will then drive you. And if you haven't got that, well, again, you're directionless. It might be a great idea, it might be a great dream.
Yeah.
But if there's no purpose behind it and no meaning behind it, then it just won't last. So that would be those three things: just responsibility, encouragement.
And so they've got that, they take responsibility and everything, but they've got a family who doesn't understand entrepreneurship. They've got friends and family who are not risk takers. Joy, maybe you can answer this. What would you say to them if they were in that position? They had the dream.
Yeah, and I completely understand, because I was always in that position, that fear. I mean, we get caught up in the fear of leaving what we know. We know we want to do something else, but and that was mine. I knew that I wanted to do something else, but I just wasn't sure that I was the entrepreneurial type, that I was the type of person that needed to go just work in this way, not in any other way. And Kev's very creative. He's been an entrepreneur all his life, and I'm that logical, organized one. I would say now that because I've taken that leap of faith, is really checking with your heart. If and what I said before is ask what I would tell my younger self is just check in with your heart, and how does this make me feel? And the other thing that I have discovered is that opportunity. There's always adversity in every opportunity, whether it's a positive thing, whether you're going out to, do you have your dream job or the dream role or the dream entrepreneurial role, great opportunity, there's going to be adversity. So I'd say just have a think about what that adversity might look like. And that may be that, okay, my family aren't happy with me doing this. I've got to go out. I want to do this. I've got this dream. I want to do it. I'm currently in a job I'm getting paid regularly each week. And so think about what the adversity might be in terms of that opportunity. And you can start planning, okay, well, this will be the adversity. What can I do as a result of that? But just, I think, accept and acknowledge that there will be adversity. There is in every opportunity, positive or negative, definitely. So, just really think about that, write it down, and think about the adjustments that might need to be made, and talk about it, communicate it, but just go with it. What I have discovered is that you can make a decision to do anything you want to do. That doesn't mean that it's the right decision. It doesn't mean that you have to stick with that decision. But what it does mean is it can lead you on to so many other things.
What are you both most
sorry, Donna.
Yeah.
Sorry, Joy. But I would also say to that person, if all your friends are trying to drag you back to their comfort zone, it's time to find some new friends. If they're not supporting you, and if your parents aren't supporting you, then it might be time to say, look, hang on, I'm hanging around negative people here. This is a whole negative environment. I've got to make a decision. One way or the other, stay in the comfort zone and just go nowhere, and just stay where you are for the rest of your life, or say, hang on, it's time to move out of this comfort zone, time to find a new positive tribe, and go and make my dreams come true, basically. Yeah.
So true. So agree with that. So what are you most looking forward to for the rest of 2020?
Just continuing with what we started. We've started with our daily live meditations, and that's going to follow on with some courses. I'm really looking forward to putting out more courses and programs. I'm the type of person now, and I think I always have been inside, but I'm happy with uncertainty. I really actually enjoy the fact that I don't know where I'm going to be in 12 months' time, or I don't know where we're going to be at the end of the year. And if COVID, and I'm I just accept what is kind of person. So whatever comes our way or my way, I know that I can adjust and, pivot to whatever I need to do. But I'm really want to continue with what I started at the start of COVID was really working from my heart and in the space that I love, and I'll continue doing that.
That sounds like what I did along the Camino, trust. You just trust and go with, where you really feel that this is right for me. I don't know about you guys, but I didn't book accommodation along the way. It was really about trust for me. I had booked to Saint-Jean, which was where I stayed the night, and then I trekked out. But the whole purpose of the Camino for me was trust, because I had just lost everything in my business as I knew it for the past 12 years. So that was really a journey of, I call walking off the shit and trusting that everything was going to be okay. So that I resonate with that. What about you, Kev?
2020, I guess for me, I want to continue. I want to keep building up the podcast. I want to get some more programs out there, and I want to start planning for next year, which for me is, I'd love to go and do the UK coast to coast walk, which is, I'd love to do that next year actually, and spend some time over in the UK, because that's a walk from Robin Hood's Bay across to St. Bees, right across England, one side to the other.
How many Ks?
It's 319, I think.
Okay.
So, and it's through the Yorkshire Dales, so all the beautiful lakes district, and it just looks amazing. You stay in all the old B&Bs and the old hotels, the old pubs. I would just love that. That would be just fantastic. Being born over in England, it'd be nice to go back home there and just do that lovely walk and just spend some time there. So I guess this year it's just about really consolidating what we're doing. I'd love to have a VA at some stage as well to help us out with certain things. I think as you grow with the business, you start, needing other people to sort of help you with those little bits and pieces that take up time. So, I guess for me, just continue on, just keep improving each day, even if it's just 1% each day. And, build up for a really big 2021, but really enjoy 2020 as well.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing? Because the three of us collectively are creating something that can be taken anywhere. We can still do our podcasts anywhere. You can still do meditations anywhere. And I've actually I have two different things that I do, which is training and assessment, professional development, as well as the resilience movement. And it doesn't matter where I am, because I should have been in Valencia right now writing my book. So that's what I love, that you guys are also on that pathway to travel and earn and do whatever it is your heart desires. So how important do you think resilience is in business, and what does resilience mean to you?
I think resilience is important in life in general, so that will take you through business and everything else. And I don't think a lot of people understand what resilience is, but it's about, and it's what I said before. For me, resilience is about just accepting what is, rather than focusing on the what ifs. So it's extremely important in business, particularly in your own business. When you've moved out of corporate and in your own business, resilience, it just is sort of, I don't know, just this whole thing just is thrown at you. And yes, you have to be resilient, because you have to shift, and for whatever way that you may need to go at any point in time. But I think in your life, I think that if we can teach from a very young age resilience, life would be so much easier for so many people, because it's and meditation, everything comes back to a practice of meditation, and meditation can teach you and help you to be resilient in your life. Because as we talked about before, what meditation does is it doesn't change the external, it just changes the internal, and you're able to cope and deal with anything that's going on, and that's resilience.
Yeah.
So it's very, very important just in life itself.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And Kev, what about you? What's resilience in business to you?
Like I see it as it's a bit of a combination of a few words. It's persistence, it's determination, it's discipline. It's all those things, because I'm reading a book at the moment called The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday, which is a really great book.
Hang on,
And
I
he
have to
talks
write
about,
every book down.
yeah,
What is it called?
The Obstacle is the Way,
Okay.
Ryan Holiday. And it's actually on Audible. So it's an Audible book that I've got.
Oh,
It's,
I'm addicted.
yeah,
Yes.
really good. So it's on audible.com, really great book. And he talks about, he talks about all the old Stoics, like people like, what's his name? I mentioned him the other day. He's got that
This morning.
Aurelius, what's his name? Anyway, all these guys from like 1,000 years ago, and their stories, and he talks about one day this particular town had everything was going fine for them, and the leader of the town, everyone had it too easy, and so one day he went out and got this huge big boulder and just threw it in the middle of the road in the town, and most people just stayed home. They said, "Oh, we can't go out anymore because this big rock's taking up the whole part of the town." And but one guy came along and thought, "Okay, how can I move this thing? I can't go through it." And he went into the woods and got this big log and just used leverage to sort of move it away. And this guy, he says, for him it was that obstacle was in fact the way. That was the way through. And all these obstacles that come into us, we need that resilience to keep sort of moving through it. And sometimes you can't go through it, but there are ways around it, over the top of it, and all that kind of thing. And I think in business that you're always got obstacles in your way. They're always coming up. There's always something that is not sort of working out or whatever, and you have to work your way through it. And without that determination and that persistence and that discipline, then people give up. And most people give up after a while, and they just think, "No, it's just too hard, so I'll just move on." And I think you need that those obstacles there, because, and he says in this book that every obstacle is a blessing. It's there to sort of help you grow as well. And I like that as well. So that's
and growth is so important, isn't it? Doesn't matter which way, but there's the saying, if we're not growing, we're dying. And that's so true. Growth is one of my highest values. So so do you think podcasts and, like your podcasts and my podcast, The Resilience Movement, do you think they're beneficial for entrepreneurs?
Yeah, most definitely. Just as I said before, some people don't even understand what resilience is, and having those discussions about resilience, like your podcast, are really, really important and really powerful. I think that sometimes we don't know what we don't know. So it's not until we hear something, we listen to a podcast like your podcast, for example, on you've got lots of different subjects there. It's not until you hear something, it gets you thinking, oh, okay, well, I am resilient, or hang on, I'm not resilient. And these are the things that I need to do. Or, you've got podcasts on gratitude and a whole lot of other lovely subjects there. But until we hear it, we just don't know what we don't know until you read the book or hear the podcast. And I think podcasts is a great way. There are so many people listening to them these days, and ones that don't go for too long as well. That, they're short and sharp, and they just provide that little bit of information that you need. And you never know. And this is what I've learnt over the years. You never know who you're helping and who is receiving the message at the time that they need to receive it. So that's why we have to do these.
That's so beautiful. So true. I totally resonate with that. Yeah. And they say when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And I find that in books, the right books appear in my life when I need them most. So yeah, that's awesome. Look, is there anything else that you want to add, guys? This has been truly awesome. I thank you so much.
Actually, I'll just just about podcasts. I mean, I wanted to do one for a long time, and always thought it was too complicated and too hard to do, and you had to have guests on all the time. And then I realised that you don't. But it's funny because a lot of the highest ranking podcasts go for 2-3 hours. Like you look at Rich Roll and Joe Rogan, theirs goes for 3 hours. So people obviously like the longer versions as well as the short ones as well. So it's interesting that everyone's different. And I mean, I love going for a jog, and I'll put on a Joe Rogan podcast, listen to it for an hour or so. And Rich Roll's very good as well. He has some really interesting guests. And so podcasts I just love. And doing one a day for years is going to be a big challenge, but I'm up for it. I'm just going to keep doing it. So look, thanks, Donna. I really appreciate you taking the time to come and talk to us. It's great. We've loved chatting to you. I'm sure Joy has as well. And
excellent.
I must get you on my podcast and talk about your life and also the Camino.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Look, I just want to thank all the listeners for tuning in again. I know this is an hour-long podcast, which is probably my longest one, but it's been so worth it. So thanks for tuning in, everyone.
No worries.